does that mean?
Yeah, why would I put scissors away?
You know the saying, "Don't run with scissors."
Yeah, that sounded like some code language that you are speaking though.
Well, he just said where I'm gonna run with that, and I'm like, well, did you put the scissors away? You couldn't run with
I mean,
scissors.
there's like worse things you could run with. I mean, I never really understood that. Just saying.
Like, I seriously though, I thought you
Like
were talking about
nitrogen
like
bombs. I mean,
I thought you were talking about like a software, like running with scissors, or it was called scissors. And are you running with scissors is like a thing? I didn't know.
I don't think that running with scissors is software, but it
It
probably
should
should
be.
be. I think that would somebody should coin that because I don't know
sure
what
it's a
the hell
game.
software
Sure
it
it's
would
a
be,
game
but that
here
is a name for
somewhere.
some software right there. I like that.
Right?
I bet you it's a mobile game somewhere where you run around with a pair of scissors and end up killing yourself, chopping
Yeah.
other people's heads off. You know.
It's like those super bloody violent stick figure like flash games back in the day. You remember those?
Oh, you mean like the gerbil and the piranha tank shit? The was it Joe's cartoons or something?
I don't
A couple
know.
of different ones.
Was it what was it, you like push the button and the gerbil would like talk shit, and then the
Newgrounds?
piranhas would like come up and like bite pieces of him off, and he'd still talk shit when he was missing legs and crap.
I
Remember that shit? Or the flies, the flies that were like drunk in the guy's beer. You remember
Maybe it
that? I
was
I remember that.
like old school gifts, man. I mean,
No,
like
these
when the
these were
technology.
like flash games. It's like, I mean, they didn't really give you a whole lot of choices, but you just like click a button and then shit would happen.
Yeah, I've seen them, but
Yeah, I want to say it was like Joe Cartoon or something.
There's one
I
site
don't know. I
called
can't remember.
Puzzles by Joe. I don't know if that's it.
No, probably not.
The site
Newgrounds
looks.
had stuff similar to that though.
I don't know. Did did you find us this week's sale?
Yeah.
The
Uh,
item of
like,
the week,
like your
yeah.
chair.
I mean,
did you find?
I mean, I do. I also have a meme. I've got all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
So there's a meme for you there.
how's the? Oh, we're like two different ends of the spectrum, though. Well, Joe, you're not that far from me, but Scott, you're like way the hell up from us. Uh, how's the fuel thing been? You guys out of fuel?
I don't think they're hoarding like crazy like they are down there. I haven't seen anything about it other than relating to America. Like I haven't seen anything about Canadians doing it. I haven't even paid attention to the gas prices here. All the news articles I've seen have been about America and Americans putting it into Tupperware tubs and
That's got to be like
I mean, there's
a lot of
people that are
Canadian
stupid
memes now.
anywhere. Yeah.
But have
like,
you?
about
Even
Canadians.
down here though, like I haven't experienced much of anything yet. I got
Really?
gas like a day and a half before
Oh, okay.
all this shit happened.
'Cause
So I haven't been to it.
I'm
I haven't been to get gas recently. But even like driving by it, I drive by one every day when I take Taylor to school. There hasn't been like a line 10 miles long. You know, it's
no
just normal.
the line 10
The
miles
pumps are-
long
the
happened
pumps
3
are
days
full,
ago.
but
Like the pumps
no,
are
I mean, even then it wasn't though.
oh
That's what I'm saying. There was no real like issue down here.
yeah. Well, here it's been bad because there's tons of gas stations now that don't have fuel. Period.
In Ohio, where Nikki was, I think, right? Nikki wasn't able to get gas at one place. Nikki had a problem getting gas at one place, was it? It wasn't Nikki that you were talking to that had problems getting gas.
I don't know, but
Apparently, it was Cassandra that had problems getting gas the other day.
oh yeah, no, it's like here, yeah, there's a lot of gas stations that are just the prices are gone. There's just zeros or marked off.
Well, yeah, if they don't have any gas, yeah.
You want a gamer chair? There's your gamer chair.
Yes, that I didn't even have to blow it up, but I was like, "Yep, there you go."
You know,
Selling gamer girl chair.
my partner,
Oh dear God.
she thought it was a microphone.
Oh,
Jay thought it was a microphone.
really?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, at first she had to she had to take a second. She,
God, you must educate
I
her.
was like, I knew what that was right away. What does that say about me?
Yeah, right.
I
I wouldn't even
Just
use
a
them,
little
like,
bit degenerate
personally,
here. Good lord.
Yeah.
And of course, the seller of this is Deku. All right, but that's not even Deco from My Hero. So I don't know about that. I'm seriously questioning how much did they want for it. Oh, there's no price.
Got it.
You don't have a price. Well, now everyone knows where to get the next gaming chair from. But yeah, no, I was having a conversation with somebody that was about the fuel stuff or whatever, and they were like, "Oh yeah, next cyber attack's gonna like take out everything," and I was all like, "Why?" I said, "Somebody at Tesla is probably the culprit for the pipeline hack. You know, it's good marketing for them, right? There's your next conspiracy. Tesla takes out a gas pipeline, so more people buy Teslas, right?" That's what I was going with anyway.
That's quite a conspiracy you got there.
Yeah, I know.
It has the makings of a conspiracy. No evidence.
I was gonna
just
say,
pure
yeah, exactly,
speculation.
exactly. Pure speculation. That's it.
And only like one
That's
crazy
the
guy
key.
who supports it.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. All right, everybody. Welcome to Technically Incorrect. I am Rob. I am joined by my co-host. You guys can say your own bloody names this time.
Joe.
Hi, I'm
Joe.
Scott.
And Scott. There you go. All right. So we had the topic today. We touched on it last time, but right to repair. Scott's
Did
been
we touch on it last time?
very briefly, very briefly for a small smidgen of a millisecond.
Yeah. Then we were off to the races with the epic Apple stuff.
I said, yeah, but Scott has been wanting to talk about this for a while. Like what, 3
Yeah.
weeks now when you brought this up?
Yeah, I mean, it's been gaining a lot of traction lately. Like, you've been seeing a lot of new videos coming out on YouTube about it. A lot of articles have been coming out. A lot of legislation has been coming out, even just this past month. Literally, within the last few days, there's been a lot of recent updates on this right to repair issue. So yeah, I guess a little bit of background for anyone that doesn't really know what the right to repair movement is it specifically deals with the right to repair electronics, and it's basically a movement that is supporting legislation that allows consumers to repair their own electronics and or to get them repaired by third-party businesses. It's a complicated topic, like any political movement. It varies from person to person. What I think of right to repair. Joe and I might agree on that right to repair should be a thing, but I might think it should look like one thing, and Joe might have like a slightly different picture. But the general idea is that it's basically companies like Apple have had this like sort of monopoly that they have been able to create by basically
Ensuring that you can't repair your own stuff. It goes back for more than just that. It goes to farm equipment, vehicles. That's why this whole stuff even exists, is because companies are trying to make it to where you can't repair your own stuff. If you bought it from somebody, they're the only certified people that are able to repair it. And so this legislation is meant to make them give you the resources that are needed for either you to repair it or for a third party to repair it, whether it be a vehicle or your own electronic devices or whatever it is.
But some states have already adopted this legislature, right?
Mm-hmm. On various things. Like in Florida, it's mostly agricultural, actually, because it's a farm state. a lot. So there's
Well,
people that
and,
want to repair their own stuff.
and the automotive uh, industry has gone through this right to repair in recent years. Like in 2012 or 2013, they had passed legislation for that, and so we've kind of already been through this with the automotive industry. And
And there
there's
was even loopholes that have recently been closed, and manufacturers like Tesla were actually getting around it. That's why they could only service their own vehicles. Well, now they are going to be made to make all of their information public also. Basically, so you can get your Tesla repaired by somebody who is not a Tesla certified dealer.
Right, but a while back they had that guy that was up north somewhere that was going to junkyards, and he was basically like stripping junked or wrecked Teslas or whatever and storing all this stuff in his basement. Now, I don't remember the exact whatever happened with that, but I know Tesla did come after him for some reason or another. Because there was definitely a story about it.
he was hoarding spare parts or something.
Yeah, no, he had his basement or something. He was keeping all these spare parts that he had taken off of wrecked Teslas and junkyards. Now, which would have been fine, I guess, if he was using them for his own personal stuff. But when he went to go sell them, I think is when it became a problem. I'm not 100% sure.
Still not sure why that would be a problem either, but if it all ties into this right to repair thing, it makes actually perfect sense.
I don't know, this was a couple of years
Well,
back, but there's states like Georgia. The only thing it says about it is that the right to repair bill introduced historically, whatever the hell that means. But Florida, per se, has an active right to repair bill since 2021, which is just now. So
Texas has something coming out too. There's a handful of states. and
Texas
some of
has it
them-
right now.
Some of them has
Something or some version of it, yeah.
they're drawn up, but I don't think they've been voted on. And it's interesting because they separate them too into like one for farm, one for the electronics,
Or
consumer electronics,
Yeah.
and then one for did I say farm? One for like
Farm,
automotive.
automotive, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Just to kind of back up for some background, like we said, we've already kind of mentioned the automotive industry went through this in the early 2000s, and this kind of for electronics gained a boom in popularity in 2016 when these bills I think first really started surfacing with electronics, and Apple was lobbying heavily against them. And whenever that happens, people really start to pay attention because you kind of gain this sense of why does Apple not want that? Why are they lobbying so hard against it? And it makes people suspicious. I think rightfully so.
I mean, why does Apple not want anyone repairing their stuff besides Apple? Well, yeah.
Money.
Joe,
that's-
Joe's
Really, that's pretty much
Joe's
what it's gonna
scratching
come
and
down
he's okay.
No, it's seriously like the reason they want control. They want to ensure that they can control how you buy things, basically how you consume. And if they can basically control their services, their repair and replacement services, so that they could then do something like, charge exorbitant prices on it, then they can really incentivize you to just go ahead and buy the new model of their model. Because it's almost the same price, it's only a little bit more, and you get all these new bells and whistles with it.
Right.
Uh,
There's
You
absolutely
can charge you
no.
out the butt for the repair itself. I mean, okay, well, you want to stay with that? That's fine. Well, you got to pay us $1,000 and we'll repair your old device.
But there's no competition, right? That's
Exactly.
the anti-competitive
They
part.
get set their own price. So
Yeah.
So this has
And-
absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Apple doesn't want people taking apart their stuff, screwing it up, and then trying to go back to Apple for some type of warranty.
well, there's
No, that's
there's
a very good
legitimate
point.
claim to it. That point, and then also to possible malicious people offering repair services and then putting stuff like spyware on your phone or whatever it be. There are security concerns to think about when you have just every Joe Body repairing your electronic device. Kind of risky.
It's possible. I think that's unlikely, but it's possible, sure.
Listen,
Like you could say that
I
about a
would,
mechanic
I would
for
probably
your
say it's more
car,
likely
too.
than you would think. In
You
my
could-
opinion, it's probably really likely.
you could say that about a mechanic low jacking your car. I'm sure it has happened. I don't think it's very common, but you know,
Yeah.
I don't really.
I mean, it would be pretty stupid to do, but people do stupid stuff all the time. So, you know.
Yeah, but Apple kind of has this thing where, like, one device to the next, everything is kind of got this like seamless approach to working with other Apple stuff.
They call that the tie-in
Right.
product.
But that's one of the reasons why people like Apple so much is that it works
So
with their
it
own stuff.
supposedly just work with Apple stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, as to where with Android phones or whatever, you know, you might have this OS, you might have that OS, you might have this type of phone. This app won't run on this phone because it's not powerful enough to run it, where it'll run on, you know, a newer Samsung or something. Or you have to have all these different apps to do all this other stuff that you want to do that Apple's just like, okay, this doesn't work for everything, we're not going to do it. Or they figure out their own way of doing it so it works. That's actually probably the only nice thing I have to say about Apple. But
The only nice thing, no,
Yeah.
that's a really.
Their shit just works. I mean, they do make a solid product. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to fuck with it. You don't own it, but you know they make it work. So
That's why like the iPad still does not have a calculator. Apparently, there was like a whole debacle with that, and the iPad has never gotten an official calculator because like back when Steve Jobs was still alive, hated them, and they even like designed a special user interface like like a calculator making for him, and he made one in like 10 minutes, but I forget the story. Like that never ended up becoming.
so
It was after the iPad had already been released. That's right. It was like right up to the deadline. They had already made the decision, so now you can only download App Store calculators on the iPad because they wanted to do it right, and that's a really good, strong sticking point. Why I think a lot of people have a lot of brand loyalty for Apple is that you can get an Apple anything that goes with your Apple other thing. They're coming
Right.
out with like an Apple car, right? And you know you want to. That's going to be for the hardcore Apple users. You know, if you might not even want an Apple car if you don't even have an Apple phone with your Apple laptop, right?
no, I was going to say there was also the thing a while back, and I don't know if it was Apple in particular or just manufacturers of phones, because I mean Samsung could have done the same thing or LG could have done the same thing, but the older phones get, the slower they seem, or the shorter the battery lasts, or there's just unforeseen issues with them mysteriously once they've hit a certain age. Now, I don't know if there's any actual like truth to that or not, but it seems like there
Yeah.
might be. If
Well,
you
there
want
is.
people to buy the next new thing.
So like
why not self-destruct? Yeah.
Apple did admit to the apparent throttling from, I forget in between which models that like they specifically
Yeah, their
referred to it.
phone. Yeah.
They did admit to that, but it's not as like it's not as nefarious as you might assume. Like it is that they seemingly had good intentions because it was dealing with like older form factor batteries and they didn't want to like overpower those, so they like lowered the power for those, something like that. It was basically to protect older form factors.
And then Samsung made mini bombs
Well,
with their new
but, like,
phones.
well, hold on. Like they with the Apple
Hopefully
thing,
that shit on an airplane, man.
yeah, I forgot. What I was saying. Derailed.
Good job.
It's like, damn it, you got to stay with it. I'm gonna make little snide remarks.
I forgot what I was saying. Something about Apple.
Factor and how Apple may even have
Oh yeah,
rightfully and intentionally wise done what they did.
Well, see, I didn't realize this until I just read it, but what do you call it? There's legislation in DMCA laws that go for this as far as preventing consumers from tinkering with devices and whatnot. And
Like goes into music and art and everything. It's like it's
Yeah.
intellectual property basically. It's
Well,
like
whenever-
who should be able to work on it, why?
when everybody thinks of DMCA, they think of DMCA strikes, which is, you know, copyright stuff, whatever. But not necessarily this, not devices and everything. I've never heard of that before, but
Yeah. I mean, that's what like your Xbox uses to tell if you've digitally purchased the game correct or not, right? I mean, that's how it knows that the software is authentic or that the account is authentic, is it uses that kind of copywriting, right?
well, I mean, I would assume that when someone says tinker with the device, to me that's opening it up. That's
Yeah.
actually physically like messing with it, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, apparently, planned obsolescence is a thing too.
Well, yes. This all directly ties into planned obsolescence. That's a big factor here, yeah. Because
And
that's what Apple is basically trying to do when they get you to try to upsell you to the next new model. They're basically saying, look, we can repair that one for you, but we're just gonna upsell you on this one. They're trying to make that one obsolete, even though it might not be. Like, realistically, I think a lot of people don't really need that new machine. Like, I have laptops. We've made fun of me for this, rightfully so. I've got a shit ton of laptops, but like, they still work. Like, there are users that don't need them for what they don't need them for video games or anything like that. They use it for like Excel spreadsheets, and you don't need a complex machine for that. You don't need a brand new machine for that. Like, I think
that's
it's totally,
consumerism. Yeah, it's
it's
consumerism is what it is.
yeah, and
Yeah, buy the new latest greatest thing. It's the best in the world.
But
you won't be disappointed.
okay, you bring up Excel, right? So like Office Suite or something. Okay,
Look,
so Word,
I just-
Excel. No. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but if you're someone that uses Excel a lot and creates a lot of spreadsheets for your job and whatnot, and you use Office products, you're probably gonna want the new program when it comes out to do all the new cool stuff that the new program does, as opposed to your old program. Which,
The
depending
newest-
on if you're running Windows, Vista 7, 8, 10, the new program may not work.
Like, I'm not suggesting people go out and get their Commodore 64s out and try to run shit on that. I'm definitely not suggesting going back to the Stone Age.
So
but it's
basically,
also
a
like,
machine that will run, that has the hardware capable of running Windows 10
I mean, it
is
doesn't
what you're
have
hanging on to.
It doesn't even have to be Windows 10, like, per se. But also, I think all those laptops in there are capable of running Windows 10. Maybe a little bit sluggish if I wanted to play WoW or RuneScape or COD on it or something, but most people don't do
Well,
that.
there's a jump.
There does come into question practicality too, and then also natural obsolescence. Again, I mean, as Rob just pointed out with the software thing, the new latest greatest software comes out. Well, if you don't have the newest hardware, you might not be able to run the newest software. So, I mean,
It's a good point. Like, there is a good reason things become obsolete. But then there is the driving force that these companies put behind their old products versus their new products.
it shouldn't be
to say,
reinforced. It should be just let happen naturally. Yeah.
yeah, it shouldn't be allowed for them to monopolize their own system too, and basically almost force or coerce you through predatory tactics to get you to get that next one by, say,
Now,
charging way too much for the services.
Now, I don't disagree with you on that. Say that you have a situation like with 5G, where you have this new technology that's coming out, it's going to make other technologies eventually obsolete, or a lot less used. Like, we don't even have really 3G and stuff like that. It's all used on 4G, just downgraded to whatever speeds it's supposed to be. So as you improve, certain things will eventually disappear. Certain support will just not be there anymore for those devices and those items and stuff like that. I mean, I don't see Wi-Fi going away anytime soon, but things like 5G, which is a technology, which is something that changes with our daily use almost, seems like it changes, things like that will happen and it will continue to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Even so, laptops with older wireless cards, right? That can't do 5 gig. You know, they're stuck on 2.4, which again, for most people is probably still fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, how far back do you have to go with a phone? Like maybe back to like the HTML web days, so we can stop getting shit like this. Oh, that's not going to show. That's not going to show up at all. Nope.
Yeah.
It's just totally white. It's totally white.
I hate to break it to you. I hate to break it to you. We're still in the HTML days. I don't know if that's going
Yeah,
away.
but you're a freaking white screen. I can't. Oh, it's
what is
terrible.
Why?
I literally, while you guys were talking, my phone just went off. But this is a white screen right now that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But like, was that?
It's a text message.
I thought the screen was polarized or something. Like we
No,
couldn't
I
see
mean-
the.
No,
I mean, if I do that, you'll be able to see it. It's fine. But yeah, it is because it's not showing it's not showing the text message because the screen's too fucking bright. But at any rate, no, I just got this text message that says from some random number, I have no idea who this person is. We will lock your device soon. Please clear spam messages now, and then sends me a freaking web link. I'm like,
Don't go to that website.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna click on this right now.
That sounds like some ransomware shit.
I'm like, yep, that's pretty
We-
much, yeah. But how far
could have
how
a
far
whole-
back do we have to go with phones so we don't bother getting these anymore?
The ransomware stuff.
Yeah, because I
Well,
mean
that
I get
happens-
Russ get that shit like 4 or 5 times a week. It's ridiculous.
Apparently, ransomware is on the rise. Like, it's becoming even more
That's
of an
the-
issue.
That is what happened with the pipeline recently. It was ransomware by
Yeah, I think
the
so. Yeah.
dark side cyber group. Hacker
So
group.
Siths, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they call themselves.
Well, did
But
they
I was
did they
actually
catch
reading
one
an
of them?
article on
Because
it
there's
today.
always 2, right? There's always 2.
Well, one of them posts on the internet under dark something or another. I don't know, but
There's
supposedly
shit's my theory on it
supposedly
being
they're shutting
Tesla.
down, like on the criminal forums or whatever. They've been pressured by the U.S. government and federal agencies that we'll start coming after them if they don't leave us alone. Basically, supposedly this is all what I read in the story. So, but they don't know if they're being for real, that they're shutting down, or that if they're just feigning shutting down. But apparently they've had some issues. Apparently they've had some issues, according to their own post from this guy, where they have had troubles with their front end services, if you will, on their own servers, and also they have been, had money stolen from them. So, crime pays, but maybe not.
Interesting.
So where's your where are you at with the what should or shouldn't we be able to do with devices then?
So one thing I didn't really make clear in the beginning is this isn't just about like you and I repairing our own devices. This is about letting people that are actual repair people that have their own business fronts and stuff for doing that and are reputable people,
Yeah.
allowing them to do that. And
Yeah,
Apple,
that's just
over the years.
yeah. It's
we-
like saying
we-
every car manufacturer can only be repaired by that manufacturer's service shop. So
Yeah.
all these little, service
Mom and
places you
pop
find all
stores
over
go
the
away.
place, you just couldn't work on cars anymore.
Yeah, and it's like you can't find a simple fix for the simplest thing like a door handle even.
Right.
Without it's like actually that's a not terrible comparison to be like, well, your brand new Tesla, you can only get it repaired at Tesla. Your door handle broke.
Gonna be
But it costs
$10,000.
this much. It's gonna be $10,000. You sure you don't want the new model of Tesla?
Yeah,
Like,
only 50,000 more.
To be fair, have you ever tried to replace the door handle on a Tesla before?
No.
No,
probably
and, I mean, I get what your point is, and so for something as high tech as a Tesla, that might be a fair thing. Someone
Or a
Someone
third
might actually
party,
want to
somebody
pay-
who knows what they're
Right.
doing, though, who would maybe
But-
charge less than a dealership would,
and it
Okay,
it
but
that's
might
a fair
not
that's
be
price.
Tesla brand, but it might be machined in close enough the same way that a Tesla expert might be able to tell. But you
well, I'm
and
not
I
even
might
talking
not
about the
know.
part itself. I'm talking about just doing the work itself. Just being able to service it. the parts and everything can come from the OEM, I would think that that's probably the best thing in my opinion. If they're made cheap enough, available to everybody, why not? You know, why not take advantage of the manufacturing that's already in place rather than trying to do something your own? You know?
Well, because
I
sometimes it
understand
is
that.
cheaper.
Yeah.
They do.
Now, yeah, if a third party takes over, that you can find a cheaper way to do it, maybe, but
But
Especially
just
for something like a molded door handle. Anyway.
just speaking to the automotive industry, there's a reason why things are the way they are. And yeah, like Joe just said, that I totally agree. I mean, regardless of who's actually doing the repair, whether you're doing it yourself or you're having a third-party shop do it, or if you're doing it to the dealer, if that OEM part is available, that is the best thing you could possibly put on your car, regardless of who's actually doing the work. However,
So,
parts get so old and cars get so outdated that the manufacturers don't make them anymore, and the manufacturers even send the specs for that part to third-party manufacturers to continue to make this stuff. A lot of car manufacturers don't make their own parts.
Yeah.
Even for
Well, I mean-
for the newer stuff.
technically, Apple doesn't make their own parts, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, technically. I mean, don't they own the factories over
Sure.
in China and stuff?
sure, but there are technically, I think, different companies, and it's more so that they work out deals to make this chip for them, you know, make 1 million in some of these chips, and then don't sell them to anybody but Apple, basically, for Apple production use. And
Right,
so it
very
leads to like, there's this guy. I need to look up his name again. Something Rossman. He's been gained a lot of popularity on YouTube lately, and he gives a good example of, he is a repair person himself, and Apple like has made it so difficult that even to just change like a little charge chip in like a laptop or something like that, he can't just go and buy the chip. He has to instead buy a like special charge pack, and then take out the chip from that, throw away all the battery and everything else that comes with the charge pack. All that's just wasted to get the chip. And so he found a way to do it, and it works perfectly fine. It's the same chip, but now he has to use more waste that was totally unnecessary to get at the thing that would fix it.
Yeah, his whole option is to now hold on to that other battery pack, and hopefully the chip was good when the other battery pack fails.
Yeah, but then even then, it's still wasted casing and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
If you had
honestly,
to destroy it, then yeah, actually it would be a waste completely, but
yeah,
Well,
but again,
and-
people hang on to stuff for a certain amount of time, and then either it gets lost, or they don't know what they did with it, or they actually do throw it out because they haven't used it in a year. Most
Well, and-
most people.
for
Yeah.
something like a charge pack, you're not going to need most of the stuff in it, and a lot of that is just going to enter a landfill again. And yeah, they really prevent simple repairs like that. And they have come out with their own like certification program, Apple specifically. We keep picking on Apple. They're not the only problem, but
they
they're
are
just
probably the
the
most
big
relevant
one.
example, though.
Yeah, and they're easy to pick on. Let's
Yeah.
be real.
They're the big one.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, lost what I was gonna say again.
So, but where do you end up drawing the line on something like that? Okay, well, again, back to your thing with the door handle. Say you have like a 2020 Lexus GX something or other, right? Door handles kind of been the same for the longest time, right? So just about anybody can figure out how to replace that if you had to. But you start getting into some more, heavier diagnostic work or electronics failures or parts problems and this and that. There's a lot of third-party shops that don't have the equipment, that don't want to buy the equipment to work on this newer stuff, especially when it comes to the network systems that are in these cars nowadays. They don't.
Yeah.
They're
Part
not
of-
paying enough to hire the
Right.
technicians to work on it, and they don't have the equipment to do it.
The right to repair is all about you being able to source this repair through a third party for a reasonable price. If you can't source it through a reasonable price, then it doesn't meet the right to repair. So if they do have, say, a diagnostic tool that you can't buy, or that is super expensive that not just anybody can buy, then that kind of makes a problem. I mean, but I understand what you say too, though, from working in the medical repair stuff. Some of the like documentation and paperwork that I used, you can't find online. You don't just get online. You have to know who to get it from, basically. And if you don't, you can't be a repair person in that industry.
So everything's going to have its niche, and I know, I mean, you go on YouTube, there's tons of videos about, oh, this is an easy fix here. Oh, a dealership wanted to charge me this much money to fix this. Look what I did. And, you know, all these little hacks and everything. But, again, at the end of the day, how long is that going to last? Is it going to, you know, is it going to work in the long term? I mean, everything's kind of different market-wise.
Isn't life a gamble? If you really go there, isn't life a gamble? Who knows how long anything's going to last?
You change the starter on your car. You don't know that it's going to start for the next year. It might go out the 10th time you try to start it again, but it might not, and it was still worth it to you to do that.
And then
but
sometimes you end up with warranties on these things too. I mean, I don't know. I've never actually taken like my electronics anywhere to have them fixed, because normally if I can't fix them myself, it's junk to me and I throw it out, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I've never actually tried to pay someone to fix anything electronic for me or like whatever.
When phones become $35,000 for a brand new one, then I might consider having it repaired. I mean, I know that's kind of unfair, but a car is not exactly as cheap as a phone is. It's a lot more beneficial to get that repaired than it is, say, to go out and buy another phone for just $1,000. Not everybody can just do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody can or everybody should. But I'm just saying, you know, it is a lot easier to do that than it is to... And it's a lot harder to work on a phone, too, in my opinion. You have to have the specialized knowledge. Cars are a little simpler as far as the mechanical side goes. I mean...
it depends. Like, knowing how to change the battery in a phone is pretty straightforward. Like, I know how that works. We know how the things connect and how the juice flows out of it.
Now go apply that same thing and go change the battery on a Tesla.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't work on a Tesla.
It's the same battery.
Yeah. Not really.
A battery.
It's just much bigger.
Probably not as simple as just pulling a plug either, though.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Like, there is good reason to not want to work on some of these things, but that's also like, I think that's something that a lot of people get wrong about right to repair. Is they almost say like, they almost imply that you need to now do it yourself, and it's not the requirement to repair, it's the right to repair. You have that as an option. Like, you should always be able to go through the OEM and get repairs through them. That should always be an option on the table. It should just never be the only option.
So at the end of the day, you own the product, whether it's a car or a phone or a computer, whatever. You own it, so you should be able to do what the hell you want with it. And if that is destroying it or making it worse in the attempt to repair it, that should be your own damn choice.
Well, but then there is like the argument that they are really complicated devices that can be deadly. Like you mentioned the Tesla battery, you touch the wrong part of that and you could die. Like, and so it seems like you might want to have proper training before you even go fiddling with that. And that's a fair thing to say. But I kind of want to go back to what Joe was talking about with like MRI machines and stuff. Like, the way I'm interpreting all this is, it's not just about like whether or not, because y'all were at least able to get the like all the information that you needed, but it would almost be like if the company that made the MRI machines was like, yeah, we know y'all know how to repair this, we know that you know all of this stuff, but we can't sell you this part to do it. We can only sell it to like we can only do it straight through the consumer.
As long as you had the money and could buy it, they'd sell it to you. They didn't care about that. Some of the time these parts weren't cheap, but they were like, if you buy it, whatever, we don't care.
Right.
Of course, again, you have to know who to buy from, that kind of thing. It's all a game,
I'm saying it not. I'm more like giving what if that were.
Yeah.
Like if there was an Apple of MRI machines that was like, no, I'm sorry, we can't sell this to you because we don't trust you. I know. I'm literally 5. So,
Is there a
I
monetary value we can assign to this part to where they will sell it to you?
like, apparently with things like the charge chip for Apple, no, there isn't. Like this, God, I gotta look up his name. Something Rossman, Alex Rossman or something. He could probably ask $1 million. You know, they literally can't sell to him. They cannot sell this chip to him.
But can they sell the chip to somebody else?
Somebody else sell
They
them?
could, like, you're talking about getting to like gray market, black
Does
market
but
stuff?
does the chip
No.
exist outside of the
Why
component it's
can-
built into?
Why can they not sell? Well, of course it does. How does it get in the component otherwise?
Yeah.
Through a manufacturing process.
Yeah, but you're telling me you can't go take a chip out of the manufacturing
But
process? One chip?
But when Apple says, okay, I need this manufacturing plant in China or whatever the hell it is to make this part, they assemble all the pieces and ship out the part. Apple doesn't really turn around and go, okay, well, I want this little particular part that I gave you. They don't even do that, do they?
I mean, probably not. Because
Like
from
if you gave them
Look,
your
this is
phone, if
how
you
it
gave
was
your
with
phone
the
to
medical
Apple,
repair,
to an Apple
okay?
service center, and said, here, the charge chip's broken in this, fix it. What are they going to do? They're going to order the entire battery and replace the battery.
This is how the medical repair goes. Is when you go to repair an MRI, say one of the boards has a resistor on it that's fried, they don't replace that resistor.
No.
That's retarded. They order a new board. They get a brand new fucking board. They put it in, and the machine works again.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. They don't order the piece by piece like that. But the question is why not? When we repaired the MRI machines and stuff, we did the component level repair. That's part of the reason why we were able to also competitively price our services, is because we didn't go and order a $5,000 board. Instead, we ordered a $500 chip.
So most stuff that you buy nowadays would have some type of warranty on it, whether it's manufacturer's warranty or an aftermarket warranty, whatever. Every time I've ever bought a phone, they ask me, do you want the protection plan? Do you want the protection plan? And I always buy that shit because I have no idea whether my kid is going to fucking throw my phone across the goddamn room or not. I don't know.
Must be a gambler.
So it's like, but I don't care because I'm going to have the phone for 2 years. The warranty is going to be up on it in a year. I have the protection plan for as long as I keep the phone. If anything ever happens to it, I go, here's my broken piece of shit. Give me a new one. They give me a new one or a refurbished one, which generally isn't that big of a deal because they normally work just fine. Transfer all my stuff over and I'm good to go. 2 years later, I'm replacing the phone for the next newest, greatest thing anyway. So what the fuck do I care?
So the transfer over thing is an interesting little kind of caveat with Apple specifically. Again, there are issues with that. People have lost their data because of Apple's like sort of archaic system.
What, everything doesn't go to the cloud? You don't back everything up to the cloud with Apple?
Well, there's only limited space on the cloud even. So
The cloud's infinite, isn't it? Come on, that's what I thought.
Infinite cloud. I mean, with climate change, there might be even more clouds. So yeah, maybe it is infinite. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's like,
Speaking of climate change, like even if you don't really think that this applies to climate change, which like it is wasteful, it certainly does, and climate change is a scientific fact.
yes, because now you're
But-
throwing out that battery, and that's bad for the environment.
Well, it's not even just the battery, it's all the precious metals that go into one phone, like versus the fact that it is a limited resource. You know, there are precious metals like platinum and palladium in our phones.
And I mean, I'm sure you do, but I want to hear you say probably, at least I'm sure. Anyways, do you know what it takes to get the platinum and the gold and the copper out of these devices, though? The recovery process, what it actually takes to pull that stuff out of these?
For each thing, it's probably a little different, but like I know I saw some documentary about how they do gold specifically, and they take these huge fucking machines that like the fucking like tailpipe is bigger than you could probably even imagine, but like they use these huge massive machines and take up huge buckets of dirt and sift through that for little tiny pieces of gold. And it takes like something like 100 tons or some ridiculous amount of soil to get like a gram of gold, or like less than that. It's like some ridiculous
You're talking about
ratio.
the miners. I know what you're talking about the
Yeah.
actual miners that bring the gold.
Is that what? Sorry,
He's
is that what
talking
you were
about
asking
recycling the phones. He's talking
Yeah, I'm
about how
talking
you
about
get the stuff
recycling
back
the
out of it.
phones. How you
Sorry,
get the
I
gold
thought-
out of this. Once it's put in this, do you know what it takes to get the gold out of that? Or the platinum out of that?
So I
Big
think
furnace.
I think that I was gonna say that's a separate issue, but no, you're right. It is really hard. The easiest way to do it is to use there's something called aqua regia, and it's an acid. It's a really strong. It's a combination of two acids.
Chemical. Yeah.
It's a chemical that can dissolve precious metals. They're called noble metals because they don't react with much. They don't oxidize that much. So it makes them one of the things that makes them good for electronics. But that's the best way. I can't say that's the best way. I'm not an expert on this, but that is like how I've seen someone do it. There's a channel on YouTube called
Or anything like that? Because that's part of my other thing is really it's like burning stuff or it's chemical washing it, which then you have the chemical to worry about. So there's not really a decent way to get the stuff out of here that's going to be a benefit to the environment besides being able to just continue to use it, or
Well, the-
repurpose.
Well,
the
that's the
dealing with the
point.
chemicals can be done safely, but what I think you're kind of bringing up is it's terribly inefficient. It's terribly tough to do and make more efficient. That's why recycling programs often are not what we think they are, even for our
Recycling is a
local-
whole nother topic, actually. Yeah.
it really is, but you highlight a good point that I think really ties into this, in that it's almost like these OEMs are just like, yeah, just recycle it. But you raised a good point that it's not that easy to just recycle this shit, and it often ends up in a landfill anyway. We should really be trying to do things to avoid that. And we've heard the 3 R's, right, for the reduce, reuse, recycle, There's a reason they go in that order.
Yeah, my
we
3-year-old
should
has
be-
a book about it.
Yeah, and so he could probably teach us. We should have our first guest on the show.
Yeah.
Bring in the guest part.
We're gonna
next time.
get-
We'll talk about recycling.
And he'll explain to us how reduce comes first, because that's what we should be doing first and foremost. We should be reducing our moving on to the
Well,
next
yeah,
thing.
let's go hard. You've got to have something to tell us.
What?
Making a joke, but I guess.
Nah, he cut out. We gotta watch like talking over each other because it cuts the other person out.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, get out of my way. But yeah, so reducing first and foremost. So basically trying to make things that aren't such a short lifespan for planned obsolescence. That's even allowing for some planned obsolescence. Just maybe encourage a longer lifespan, and then also reusing comes before recycling, which is repairing something. Repairing should fit right in there with the reusing and the reducing the usage of. Because recycling is not the best option. It's on the table, it's not the best option.
No, it's just
I
so
agree.
horribly inefficient.
Yeah. And we've only got so much metals here to work with. Like, we can talk about mining asteroids and stuff. Maybe by the year 3000 they'll be doing that, but I think that's not a really realistic, end goal.
The other planets still have only what we got here, what we can reach.
Yeah. But like, have you heard of those like meteors that are like a shit ton of like gold and precious metals in them? They're like incredibly valuable.
Oh, you mean the ones that like they're planning on that are thinking are gonna hit the Earth eventually?
No, not those.
Did you hear
that'd be
about that, though?
blissfully-
Did you hear
Which
about
one?
that? The response plan or whatever? Like, basically they were trying to figure out if we found out there was a asteroid collision with Earth, like if we could divert it within the 6-month span of time, and all the research that they did recently said that we would need 3 or something years to plan for something like this. And I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
Oh, I have that much time, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just Armageddon it out of the sky. It really does turn it into just a bunch of tiny atom bombs, not just one big one, and it's
Listen,
not any better.
you're telling me out of all the movies they've made out of asteroids hitting the Earth, none of it was accurate? None of it?
I know, right?
Need to look.
None of it could actually work? I mean, are you kidding me?
Do do y'all know like the actual one of the planned best ways to actually avoid that kind of attack?
Alter force, gravitational.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you basically just get some really heavy ship to fly really close to it so that the gravitational force will gradually pull it away from its current course.
And that's
So
why
it'll
we
veer
have
away.
SpaceX.
Maybe.
We can just
Not
put
the other
a
that
really
other
big
rocket
Tesla
that,
out
failed
there
it
and
to
let it
take off.
follow it.
there's
I don't know why I hammer on Tesla so much. I really don't.
Oh, they deserve
Well,
it.
again, they're the big guys, you know. But still mad respect for them though. Like it's just like Apple. I mean, they're the big guys. I hate them. Hate them. Won't buy their products, but I mean, I kind of got respect for them. They do what they do. But that other rocket company that lost their rocket recently, can't think of the name, but it had 2 satellites on board that got destroyed also. And one of the comments on it was, my whole point for mentioning it was that, yay, now we have something other than SpaceX to talk about.
Are you talking about the Chinese one?
No,
you're talking
it was, I want to say it was like an Australian one.
Wow, it's
they
amazing. You
launched
type
it
in
from
you type in
Australia?
recent rocket explosion, and
Oh,
all it
boy.
is SpaceX. All of it is SpaceX.
No, there was something else.
I don't know, but like we've talked about planned obsolescence. I think there's another interesting example of actually like forced obsolescence with McDonald's ice cream machines. Y'all know that whole thing?
now
Rocket
you
Lab,
piqued my
Electron
interest.
Booster.
You're talking about
It-
Joe. You were talking about Rocket Labs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the Electron Booster that fails to launch and reach orbit.
Yeah, I finally found that.
Yeah.
After I sifted through all the SpaceX stuff. So, McDonald's ice cream machines, do tell.
What?
Uh,
They're gonna be on Mars first.
McDonald's? Yeah, right there with the
Yeah.
freaking mushrooms. We're gonna have mushroom smoothies.
wait, what?
What? Dude, why McDonald's?
Minute Maid
I'm-
mushroom smoothies for $3.
McDonald's, Coke, Pepsi, they're all gonna be there first.
I missed something.
Yeah, you probably did.
We're talking about mushrooms
Uh,
now?
The
On
space
Mars.
mushrooms on Mars. The Martian
Oh, you
You
mushrooms.
don't remember that from the last time we talked?
I do. I did not know that's what you were talking about. What
Well,
about
I
it?
just threw it in there with, McDonald's being the first thing that comes up to Mars. As soon as we touch foot there, we're gonna have a McDonald's.
Definitely. Yeah, they will definitely have that in a Walmart.
It's gonna be McDonald's and Walmart. And if you live in
And
the
like a
South,
Starbucks.
Waffle House.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah. So y'all know, y'all been to McDonald's late at night, maybe even in the middle of the day, and just been like, "Can I get a chocolate smoothie or shake or whatever?" Shit.
That's the last time you went to McDonald's.
Sorry, what was that, Joe?
Sorry, our ice cream machine is down.
Yeah, exactly. Always the fucking case. And do you have any idea why that is?
Because
Like-
they can't repair their own stuff.
No, a lot of times
So-
they're cleaning it.
Yes, actually, no.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
A lot of times
no,
it's because they're cleaning it, but yeah.
But it is that they also can't really repair their own things. They can't repair their own machine. So the machine they use is by a brand called Taylor. And sorry. Anyway,
Second, nobody's
brand
gonna
is-
get that. It's okay.
no. Anyway. So they use a machine. The brand is called Taylor. I'll say it again. But so does
We didn't hear.
so the brand is Taylor. So Wendy's uses the same brand. I think Burger King uses the same brand of ice cream machine. They don't have the
Yeah.
same issues because they actually can use like newer versions of the machine or like other versions of the machine that Taylor has made that avoid those issues, that have fixed those issues. But McDonald's, because of some weird deal they have with Taylor, have locked their franchisees into buying this like particular one or two models of machine that are incredibly like difficult to work with, and they often have, like, if they error out, they have cryptic codes that show up on the front, and often, yeah, like you said, they have to clean it, but if it misses its like benchmark by like a degree or something, then it has to do it all over again, and you don't know why. Like, it doesn't give any feedback to the user as to why these issues occurred and how to prevent them in the future.
It has a process, and when that process fails, it has to restart process.
Yes, exactly. The
No error handling.
So
yeah, or not very sophisticated error handling.
rather
Just
old
like,
circuit
fuck it.
boards.
Can we say poorly designed in the beginning?
Yes, exactly. And
Well, that probably worked at the time.
I mean, it still had issues at it. Like, some of these are simple issues, like overfilling the hopper, apparently. There's a whole video on YouTube about it that we could maybe link to, but yeah, it's, you know, something as simple as that.
If
but
you
they
want to
often
know
have to-
why your ice cream machine at your local McDonald's is not working, video link
Follow
in the
the-
description.
Yeah, but this is basically a form of like forced obsolescence where it's the, you know, McDonald's has this weird deal where they're basically forcing their business owners, the franchisees are the ones that really get hurt in this, and they have to deal with these faulty machines, and then they have to pay a tailor guy to come out and fix the machine. They don't have any other option. To further complicate that story, some third-party company made a phone app that can actually read those codes and give useful information back to the
And he was
people
sued,
operators.
right?
What?
That he was sued, right?
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
just
exactly.
guessing. I was just
Yeah.
guessing.
No, you're right. Like, they gave like cease and desist or something. I don't know exactly what like legal debacle they got into, but yeah, they basically are not allowed to. Oh, that's right. They basically made it so that if the franchisees were found using this app, then they could lose their ability to have any, like, even use that machine in the store at all. Thus, no ice cream for that McDonald's.
Wow.
Or McDonald's could
Loss
just
of
like
revenue.
rewrite their contract or go with a different company.
Probably makes them a bunch of money. I mean, that's the only
They-
reason why it makes sense that they
Well,
keep it that
it
way.
makes
Yeah,
Taylor
they
a
gotta-
bunch of money, yeah. But how the hell does it make McDonald's a whole bunch of money if their shit
It's-
breaks all the damn time?
The video goes into that. It has to do with the details of the deal with Taylor, and I can't remember those details, but it's some deal that they're locked in, and yet McDonald's as the industry doesn't suffer at all. They have no reason to change that because it's the franchisees. You know, McDonald's is franchised out. It's not really one thing. And so these individual business owners that you might just know from your local city that owns the local McDonald's, those are the people suffering. And
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't see that McDonald's would suffer from it at all, regardless of whether they're making money from whatever deal they have or not. Just because, why would they care? I mean,
right, because they're not getting any negative repercussions because they just sell to the franchisees. The franchisees that own the individual McDonald's have to figure that out for themselves.
they probably get some sort of kickback from the deal when a new franchise is open. They probably get some sort of royalty for the machine going into the shop.
Taylor?
No, McDonald's. Because Taylor gets money from the guy who has to buy it, being a franchisee. Taylor gives a kickback to McDonald's because McDonald's forces the guy to buy it.
Well, they certainly have a tight deal that goes back. Yeah, like they.
That's what I'm
definitely-
saying. McDonald's got to be getting something out of it to make it worthwhile for them to keep it that way, because otherwise, all they're doing is hurting their own business by not
No.
by not allowing their people to have a more reliable machine.
The only thing they're getting out of it is that they definitely have ice cream, and I think that's kind of all the McDonald's cares about is they have the option for ice cream. They have no incentive to get up to the better
Sure that they
machines,
actually have it.
because it's not the franchisees are the ones that are limited to the specific model they can buy of the machine. They can't just buy like a new machine.
Doesn't anybody besides Taylor make ice cream machines?
Well, that's the thing is Taylor makes better ice cream machines. They make machines for Wendy's and Burger King and other places, and even like soft serve machines. They do those too, and they tend to work fine. It's the faulty older models that McDonald's is stuck into using because of some weird deal. And McDonald's, I don't think it has to be that McDonald's has to be.
Sure, you
getting
put that link in. I want to watch that video.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think it has to be that McDonald's has to be getting something out of it. It's more that they aren't really getting hurt by it because it's only hurting the individual business owners that are the.
Wouldn't it
franchisees.
make it more unattractive to have one then? I mean, or just not have ice cream in it, not be able to offer that? I mean, or is it a requirement that they offer ice cream and therefore they have to get the machine? Because, and again, if it hurts your franchisee from a business owner perspective, it's got to hurt your bottom line then. If you're either having stores that are opening without ice cream at all or stores that are not selling all
So-
the ice cream that they could, I mean, that's got to be
Yeah.
hurting your bottom line somehow.
It does, but you're looking at it from the perspective of the franchisee. The franchisee cares about all that. The person that owns that McDonald's, but not.
Yes, and McDonald's
McDonald's is more of a
itself
real
might
estate
be
company.
losing franchises for this. I mean, granted, on the scale of things, it probably doesn't matter to them. I understand what you're saying, but isn't the idea of running your business to make as much as you can from it? Wouldn't you try and have ways that people could fix problems? It
But-
doesn't make sense from a business point of view to be locked into a deal like that. That's
mean,
my point.
It's because of the chain-like structure of the system that McDonald's has built. Like McDonald's, the company, is actually more of a real estate company that sells these buildings with these plans to become McDonald's. But you don't even have to. Some of these things you have to follow like per protocol, but then individual franchisees can and do make some differences, and some probably don't even offer ice cream, and because they found it might be better for their bottom line. It hurts their bottom line to hire the Taylor guy every month to come out and fix it. Like, so maybe those do exist, but the thing is, they've already sold that as a McDonald's, and I doubt that McDonald's is gonna. I mean, it could go out of business purely because they don't sell ice cream, but
Well, I
there's
mean, that's
enough
a little more
McDonald's.
likely.
right, there's enough McDonald's out there, and all McDonald's the company really cares about is selling McDonald's. They don't really care about selling burgers anymore. That's the franchisee's job.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
So
the company's just out to make money. They don't care
Oh,
how
yeah.
they do
You-
it.
You pay me for the franchise rights, and if your store goes under, I really don't give a shit. There'll be another guy down the road to take your place, so who cares?
some other foolish schmuck that doesn't know about the ice cream debacle. But
Yeah, someone that hasn't watched our video and seen the link for
yes,
Yeah.
all two
Yeah,
of
you
you
didn't get
out
that either. What was the name of the
Also-
machine, Scott?
there.
the
I
te-
forgot.
te-
It was some name.
it's,
Oh.
it started with a T, right? It was a
Hey, Taylor, come here.
Anyway. I want
anyway.
some ice cream.
Yeah,
But
that sounds good.
But yeah,
Just bring me some on your way back.
there's a good example of forced obsolescence where there's no good reason really that this obsolete thing exists, and yet it persists because of stupid bureaucratic business stuff.
Stupid bureaucratic business stuff.
But to kind of further complicate the issue, like we mentioned John Deere tractors and how they've kind of had some blowback, right? We mentioned them a little bit. We mentioned, like, farm equipment.
Farm equipment in general. John Deere had a deal where, yeah, I think it was independent shops not being able to repair their equipment or something, that it had to be
Yeah.
done from a dealer repair facility,
Yeah, and the issue was that, like,
if I remember
or
correctly.
one of the issues. Yeah, no, you're basically right. And one of the big issues was that the machines, these tractors, just shut down if they get certain error codes, and you can't even turn them back on without having someone from John Deere come out and clear those codes with their devices
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
And so that's like, that's a big bummer. But then if you dig a little deeper, the reason a lot of these machines shut off is actually because of, I mean, I don't know the actual statistics, but I have heard that a common reason they shut off is that they often don't meet the EPA emissions. They become non-compliant with the EPA standards for emissions, and John Deere has sensors for that. And if they get readings that are outside of those sensors, then they shut it off until someone qualified can come look at it and see what exactly is going on, so that you're not just running a machine that's spewing out a bunch of greenhouse gases.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but having
Why
No.
is it-
Safety and operation, no, that's definitely a good reason to have a measure in place to protect the device that you have spent so much money on. I mean, a lot of these big tractors that you use on farms don't cost, $1, so good thing to have that protection there.
no, they
Yeah,
cost
it
$3, Joe. Get it right.
they argue that it can be safer for the machines, but they also argue that it's better for the environment, like
Yeah,
in the long
well,
run. And it's kind of one of those things that nobody wants to do.
I think that's an easy way out for them, but
What do you mean?
I really think that they don't really care so much about the environment so much as about the service call and being able
But-
to service their own equipment.
Who's gonna tell them no though? Is the thing. It's like, oh, we're doing this to protect the environment. So if your machine just goes something wrong with it, and it's polluting more than it should be, we don't want that machine to run. And then you have people going, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you for looking out for us. I mean, how do you
Yeah, he's
fight
gonna
that?
say you're full of shit. Yeah,
Yeah, but how do you fight
right,
that though?
exactly.
It's like when someone's
It's
all
a-
like,
it's
I'm
a
the good guy
out for
here.
them.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure they kind of get a little bit of push from the EPA to do the right thing. Like, I don't know what laws there are as far as ensuring that they do that, or how much they have to or are required by law to do that, but like,
They get a little
I don't know.
kickback from the EPA. Like, good job, guys. Good job. Here's your.
or
here's your-
or maybe they face some liability if they don't do that. Like,
I mean, that's like one of the like the huge things is like EPA and a lot of manufacturing operations and factories and whatnot, and even in the automotive industry, you have OSHA as well. It's like there's some things you just can't do, and it doesn't matter if it costs you more money or it's not as effective. There's certain things you have to do, or you get shut down. So.
But
yeah,
I doubt going out and maintaining your client's property is something that you are required to do. That to me just doesn't. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something there, but that doesn't sound. That sounds like that'd be more up to the client. So if that's the reason, to me it sounds like that'd probably be more a company decision rather than a government decision.
Yep. Could very well be.
I mean, if you're an automotive company and you designing them right, John Deere designing the vehicles right to where they do shut off if they have a problem, that I could see being a regulation. However, forcing
That is
them
what they
to
do.
yes, so shutting them down, fine, whatever. But forcing you to use their service is what you're saying is wrong, which is what I'm agreeing with. And I don't think there would be legislation saying, John Deere, you have to go fix these problems.
No, I
If your
think
vehicle shuts down, you have to fix them. I don't think there's
there,
anything.
there
that
is
says that.
actually there is for if there's a warranty.
Okay, well then I've just paid them to do it, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't have to pay anything. If there's a warranty, we're talking a whole nother story here.
Well, it's not a whole other story. It is closely tied. Like there's something called the Magnuson-Moss like warranty laws that deals with that, and this does go hand in hand with the right to repair stuff. It's not a totally separate issue, but there are some differences, I guess.
I don't know.
Well, with like a warranty deal, you're probably more dealing with just the service costs rather than the actual repair cost. if that makes sense. You're probably more just paying to have the guy out there rather than actually paying to have him fix the problem, the pipe,
This
the
isn't
price, the part, everything.
for like the John Deere thing. It's not so much even about the cost of the repair. It's more that they are then shut down until a John Deere representative can get out to them, which John Deere, as big of a company as it is limited in its resources and its manpower. So it would be nice to have some other people that could come and just
what you
clear
do
those codes.
is you buy another
But-
tractor. Have 2 tractors.
Because again, they only cost $1. I'm sorry, $3.
3. It's
But-
3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like one takeaway I took from that is like basically no one really wants to do what you actually is required to do to prevent climate change. We all want this, for a healthy, safe world to live in.
The system we have works well enough is the problem.
Well, it's
Nobody
like
wants to change because they don't have to.
whenever the opportunity comes where to make the decision, people are often found not wanting to make the right decision. They would
Because
rather
it's easier
just
to
they would rather
status
just
quo.
yeah, they'd rather just run the tractor so that they can get their work done. They don't care if it's giving out more greenhouse gases
Right.
and that's bad for the
But
environment.
that's why we shut it down. That way we
Sure.
make it not run, and then they have
And
to
again,
get it fixed.
that part I don't necessarily disagree with, as far as the forcing it to be John Deere that
But-
services it.
No, yeah, that is the
that's a problem.
like even vehicle inspections, right? There's tons of states that don't do it. Like Georgia doesn't do vehicle inspections. Up north, it used to be a big thing. You always had to have your vehicle inspected every year, make sure there wasn't like excessive oil leaking, no cracks in your windshield, everything was working correctly, the car was functioning good. Not just an emissions test. Not just an emissions test. There's still places that do emissions tests. It's fine. Here in the county I live in, we still do emissions tests. There's plenty of places in Georgia that don't do it anymore. But yeah, I do think that like state inspections was a good thing, because then you didn't have the person that was riding around with the cloud of smoke coming out of their car that every time they parked it at a parking spot leaked half its oil. That was not a bad thing. I don't disagree with that. I think it should be a thing. But in order to make those repairs, I think you should be able to take it to who you want to take it to, as long as that facility is able to correctly do the repairs.
There's also been a more declining need for those kind of oversights because the car manufacturers themselves have been put to stringent guidelines. You don't even have catalytic converters in more of the newer cars because they're not needed anymore.
They don't have catalytic converters in newer cars.
Do you?
Yes.
I didn't think you did. I thought the newer model cars didn't have them.
They still do. At least I haven't seen one outside of a Tesla that doesn't. Or maybe a Nissan Leaf or some other type of electric car.
No.
Then again, 2020s and 2021s, you don't really see come in for repairs like that, so.
Sure. Well, I mean, I wasn't even necessarily talking about like this year, last year's cars, but I don't know. I
What?
thought
2015,
back,
2016, 17, oh yeah, they still had catalytic converters.
no, yeah. I mean, I thought like sometime in the early 2000s there was something done where like catalytic converters were no longer needed anymore.
No, they still have them.
Hmm.
We still have to take nasty gases that the engine produces and try to clean them somewhat.
Yeah, I think it's probably that people have been kind of conflating the issue of there being more electric cars on the road, and that's been an overall kind of decrease in the average number of cars that have catalytic converters, because you don't need them for the electric cars.
Yes, but the people that have electric cars as compared to the people that don't are few and far in between.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that's enough to put a blip on to see total. If you're just looking at a graph of like total number of catalytic converters on the road, there might have been a dip because there's been an increase in the amount of electric cars on the road.
The overall number of cars on the road went up, but the number with catalytic converters overall went down.
Sideways,
Or
and it
sideways,
looked down
yeah.
relatively.
Does the internal combustion engine in today's cars run more cleanly and more efficiently than it has in the past? Absolutely. But also, EPA guidelines and emissions testing, like the standards continue to go up, every year. there is a law on like new cars or whatever to where if you were required to get an emissions test, you don't have to do it for the first 3 years if you buy a brand new car. So if you bought a car in, this year, 2021, you wouldn't have to have an emissions test if your state or area required it until 2024 or something like that, or 2025. Sorry. But yeah, because they deem it as there's no need, because there's nothing that's going to go wrong with that car within that time period that's going to,
Unless
make it
blows up.
necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's like, has the engine gotten better and more efficient? Sure, absolutely. But our emission standards have gone up drastically since, the 80s as well. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I have a 97 Acura Integra outside with no catalytic converter that every time I go take it for emission tests, it passed with flying colors. I don't know. I don't know what guidelines they're going by. I don't care. All I know is I get that piece of paper that says passed, and I'm like, cool, I can go get my fucking car registered. So...
Well, they don't want to set the guidelines so high that, like, one, it would incentivize more people to try to fake it, and also, like, so that there couldn't be any cars on the road. Like,
there really isn't faking it anymore. It's not really a thing.
But
like,
it was, I mean, Volkswagen did do that. Like,
well, okay, if you're
was-
talking
it was
about
a big
numbers,
thing.
if you're talking about numbers from a dealer, yes, okay, fine. But I'm talking about the test itself. Like, you go to an emission station, they're plugging it up to your OBD2 port. They're not sticking a thing up your tailpipe anymore. They haven't done that in years. Many, many years. So, yeah, thank God, right? No more sticks up my tailpipe. Okay, we're good. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't any faking it to where, back in the OBD1 days, like, 80s, well, depending on the car, 80s, 90s, when you actually had to get the little sniffer thing up your tailpipe that would sense all the exhaust gases and everything. It's still funny to you. It's still funny saying up your tailpipe.
Literally
That's
fine.
okay. It's still funny. Okay.
You said a sniffer in your tailpipe. How am I
Yeah.
not gonna laugh? Come on. Come on.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, to where you could either put fresh air to it or something, or take it from it or put it in another car or whatever, that was able to pass. You can't really do that anymore. So tricking these tests is not that possible.
I was more getting at like not like tricking the test, more just I was trying to make the argument that EPA wants to make the standards somewhat stringent, but not so stringent that it is like oppressive to people of lower class, basically, that they can't like use their car from anything more than 5 years ago. They don't want that. They just don't
tell
want
that to
use...
California.
California.
California
Again,
has the strictest emissions ratings of any state in this country. So
California thinks water causes cancer. Like they think farts cause cancer.
And there's some water in Mexico that probably does cause cancer. So yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't know. Don't pick on Mexico.
Probably
man.
they're
Mexico's
probably
crazy.
not wrong.
Well, you don't drink the water in Mexico, man.
It depends. In the big cities, it's actually like generally fine, but it's true. If you go to some of the smaller towns,
Like when you go to Cancun, yeah.
Cancun is actually kind of a smaller town as far as Mexico goes. It's a touristy.
Cancun is a
place.
touristy place. If you're ever gonna find a place with clean water, I figured that would be it.
You'd think, but I actually
Wild
don't know. About
variety.
Cancun might be fine. I went to Merida, which is like a 2-hour drive from Cancun, and it was fine. I mean, it's more like supposedly it's more like the fruits and vegetables that you get that you need to be careful with, like because of how they're produced and or maybe where they're getting cleaned at or whatever. Those tend to be more of an issue.
May I have a sink with my food, please?
The sink? You want the whole sink?
Watch that bitch, yeah.
Give me the whole sink. I'll say when I go to Mexico, the last thing I'm drinking is water. So I'm like,
Well, that's for a different reason, I'm sure.
yeah. Like I'm not concerned
Why would
about
you-
that because my body's just gonna be full of alcohol and that's about it for an entire week. So whatever. I said water bad, tequila good. But anyway,
Tequila.
I think I am going to call it there. We're at an hour and 19, almost an hour and 20. So, everybody, thanks for watching. This was Technically Incorrect. Like, comment, subscribe below. Blah, 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 blah. And we'll see you next time. Bye!
Oh, we didn't talk about the Wale and cannibalism.